All right, this is my plan for getting through the Bible in 30 days. I veered off of this plan last month, and it actually took me 51 days to get through the Bible. So I believe, in my humble opinion, this is the easiest way to go through the Bible in 30 days. And I'll explain maybe why at the end of the video, but for now I'm just going to run through how this works. So I start in the book of Romans and I go all the way through every day to the book end of Revelation. So that'll take me about a week to get through that. Then I jump into Genesis. So we start in the New Testament, Romans, read all the epistles of Paul, and then including Hebrews, James, Peter, John, Jude, and Revelation. And that should take you about a week. Then I jump into Genesis. Yes, I started the New Testament on Sunday, and I finished yesterday, and then I started in the book of Genesis last night. So this is what I'll be working on today, is getting through the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, and also the book of Joshua. When I'm done that, I'm actually going to jump back over to the New Testament. And the reason why I say it took me a little bit longer the last time I went through the Bible, it took me 51 days, is I started in Matthew and I went all the way through the Revelation, was done it in about a week. And then I jumped into Genesis and I went all the way through to the end of Malachi. And I tell you what, it wore me down. It wore me down, not because of the idea of being hung up in Leviticus or Chronicles. I don't get hung up in Leviticus anymore. I find Leviticus a fantastic book. Chronicles is still heavy just because there's so many names that you may never see again. This is why Chronicles is heavy. It's so much information. But what I found is once you got into the major prophets, it's heavy. It's heavy stuff because we're talking about a nation basically being annihilated except for Judah, and remnants being left. People being captured, like the northern tribes being captured by the Syrian Empire, and then also the southern tribes being carried away into captivity into Babylonia. And it's hard. It's hard to go through all that stuff and listening and reading the judgments that God is dishing out to the nation of Israel because of their disobedience, because of their unbelief and all this kind of stuff and all the prophecies. I'm telling you, by the time you get to Malachi, like it's pretty tough, because a lot of it is also future as well, talking about a Messiah coming, all this kind of stuff. For us Christians, we believe that the Messiah obviously is Jesus Christ. So it's heavy. So now this is what I do, is I just go to Joshua, then I jump over to the New Testament and do those books. Then I will jump back over and do Judges all the way to Kings. I don't know why I put Chronicles here. I actually stop after 2nd Chronicles. And there's a reason for that, is because this is all about Israel wanting a king, and then Israel having a king, and Israel losing a king. So all the way up to the end of Chronicles, and I might color code this a different color. Then, notice the green here, I will jump back to the New Testament to give myself a bit of a break. I'm telling you, you're going to need it. And go from Romans. It helps if you can actually read the Bible. From Romans all the way to the end of Philemon. Then I jump back in order, of course. Then I go back to the book of Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther. And then if I need to, maybe I'll dive into Romans or Corinthians or one of the Pauline epistles. Then I will go back and I will jump into obviously Isaiah and finish all the way to the end of Malachi, and then ending up in the writings or the poetry part, I guess. Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Solomon. This is the way that I break this up because, again, the Old Testament, if you're not used to it, reading it, because there's so much new information and a lot of it is never used again because there's names, there's cities, there's towns, all this kind of stuff, and we don't cycle through it over and over again. It's very different than the New Testament. We talk a lot about Jesus Christ and how to live our lives as a Christian over and over again in all these books. This is why it makes it a little bit easier to read the New Testament, because we can apply a lot of stuff in our lives. Here it's more like an example of what not to do in our life. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully you got something out of this. Again, 2 hours a day will get you through the whole Bible in 30 days. And if it takes you a little bit longer, like it did for me last month, it took me 51 days. That's fine. Two months is great. You're still covering a lot of territory. And believe me, I take my time. I'm actually doing a deep dive on the book of Romans. So I basically read the book of Romans almost every day on the side just for fun on top of my reading. So anyways, if you got something out of this, feel free to share in your comments. And I only use the King James because the King James is of a reading level of about grade 5, grade 6. And I use 11.5 font type, which is way easier on the eyes to read. I can't read anything that's smaller than that, like a 9-point size print or 8. That's too hard on the eyes, and you will fatigue after 10 or 15 minutes. If you use 11 points or higher, or giant size print, you will you'll be able to read your book, your Bible, for hours. Again, thanks for watching, and please subscribe. Bye.